Yeah, but
So I was watching your thing with Willie Mack right before this, and I gotta tell you, I'm not trying to start with Hasan or whatever, but
uh
yeah, I'm somebody I really I admire the work that Hasan does, especially with him being related to Cenk. Like I don't always agree with him, but I appreciate someone that is like built a platform, right? Like there's a base level of respect that comes with that. But I have to say, like lately, like you were saying in your stream with Willie Mack, like about how you think this has really damaged his impression with normal people. And I have to tell you, I know a lot of people that feel that exact same way. Like it really feels like he's tripling down on some really like bad stuff lately. It goes beyond Israel Palestine. It's just
yeah, it
this
was the
take this
Taiwan and
dream.
Tibet stuff. It was the re-education camps, the capitals of
Yeah,
socialism. Yeah, I didn't know that Hassan was actually. It sounds. I don't know if I'm going from mean to meaner or mean to stupid, but like I just assumed Hassan was like maximizing like clout in politics, and that's kind of how he functioned. I didn't know that he actually had more extremist beliefs.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he I guess he lucked out in that his extremist beliefs were kind of popular for a while, or they were. I don't know how that's going to fare now in a post, Russian invasion world, post Israel Palestine world, post whatever other shit happens. But yeah, that surprised me. Like I said, that he shouldn't be anywhere near that the what is it called, the deprogramming
Yeah,
show.
the deprogramming
Yeah,
podcast. Oh
it
my
just
god, that was a
doesn't
horror
serve him
show. Yeah,
anything. There's no
yeah.
why would he ever do that? Even if he was radical, if he had any semblance of like self-preservation for his career, he would stay as far away from that fucking show as possible. It's literally the America First Nazi equivalent to like tanky shit on the left. Why would you even why would you be in their chat talking? Why would you be a guest on the show? Yeah. That was unbelievable to me. I didn't really know that his politics actually bent that hard in that direction.
I think that progressives, and I really fell into this in the Gamergate era, anger, anger, anger at the patriarchy. Things are bad. Women are not treated well. Like there's just a limit for how long people can hear that message and double down on it. And I think this is what Hasan is hitting. Like America Bad is an emotionally exhausting message to hear day after day about how much the country sucks. At a certain point, the progressive movement has got to be about policies that you believe in, where you want to go, what we can build together, the things you can personally get. Like it's not a vision to like have this degrowth bullshit and like we're gonna get racial justice around the world and you're gonna
Yeah.
have a like tiny
Global
apartment.
socialist
Yeah,
revolution.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, the America Bad shit. I hate that.
Oh,
Like, here's like a big issue. And you know this because you lived and breathed all of this right alongside me. You remember like when the alt-right and the Gamergaters and everything were blowing up in like 2015, 2016
yep.
and all that shit, right? Um,
Yeah, I have some memories.
so like they would complain a lot saying everything is going in this direction. And I would say it's not, or your fears are unjustified right now. But then for a lot of it, it largely has. It just has happened. So one thing that I wonder, because if you make an incorrect prediction, it means you have to go back and you've got to adjust a formula, right? If you're an economist and you try to retrofit a formula to figure out like, am I making good predictions, blah, blah, blah. So you have to go back and look, right? I feel like, and maybe I'm doing a good job at seeing where we are, but I don't do a good job at seeing where people want to take things. There were times when I think Noah Opinion might have written an article, or might have been somebody else written an article about how cool it was to be like the 2000, it was like the quintessential like 2010, like snobby liberal. This was actually like morally like a cool dude. They were big on gay marriage. They didn't want us to do unethical wars. They wanted us to like help poor people. They were huge on like even like LGBT issues in general. This was like the snobby liberal, right? And the conservatives had disdain for them, academics and blah, 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 blah. But it was like you could aspire to it. I wanted to be like the 2008, 2009, 2010 snobby liberal. But now, like that, the evolution to the progressive is way further. And what I wonder is like, was it ever possible to defend the SJWisms of like 2010 to 2013 without having an automatic buy-in to where we are now? Because like, I don't want to say that like, oh yeah, Sargon, you were right the whole time. Like we should have just never had gay marriage because it inevitably leads here. But sometimes I don't know if people can like, are people capable of pumping the brakes on some things or being grounded and saying like, this is good to fight for, now stop and look at something else. You don't have to push everything to its fucking extreme,
So I'm going to answer that, and I'm not trying to glaze you. This is said sincerely. I really mean it. So I think about like my involvement in Gamergate back then, and I started with this core mission that I still think was a good mission, right? Women in the game industry are not treated well. If you look at that era, there were no women on stage at Apple events. The number of like game companies led by women was pretty much non-existent.
Or when they were in gaming
Apple-
companies, they were getting sexually harassed and all this shit, and like
100%.
Riot and Blizzard and all these things popping up. Yeah.
all of that. So I started with what I think was a good mission objective, that there were problems within the game industry and how women were treated. And as someone that was running a small game studio, like I had a front row view to everything that was wrong with that. What I have really clear memories about now is getting more and more radicalized to like in the trauma I was feeling from all the attacks on me and stuff like that, getting more like, well, it's not just that we have to hire more women. Now we've got to, look at how there's only 2% of black women hired in the game industry. Well, the fact that we have fat phobia in the game industry, that's really wrong. Hey, why do we have all these stereotypes in the game industry, right? And it's not that any one of these things are wrong or I disagree with them. It just keeps purity spiraling down and down and down into this place where you're going, well, hold on a second. I've got some questions about that. Or I think this is off topic. And there's no place where you can hit the brakes and go, hold on. My mission objective here is Intel just put out $100 million to help women in tech. Can we just focus fire and not try to reinvent the entire country and just make sure more women are being hired? This is the problem that we fell into, and it's why the game industry didn't substantively change. When you fast forward to when I, like after the CAFL stuff, and I really started watching your stuff to understand like what you do, I saw someone that had the balls to say some things publicly that I had been thinking for years that I didn't feel safe voicing against my own like group of people, right? And really thinking through that and saying, okay, can we actually look at the science here and have a policy discussion and try to find what the right answer is? So I think that's the answer, like what you call omniliberalism, being open enough to struggle with those questions and not be afraid to go, well, how do non-binary people fit into the trans movement? Let's think about that. How do socialists fit into the overall Democratic Party? How do we incorporate them in a way that's functional, not just capitalism bad? I think we're afraid of that conversation, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like I think there are like two big reasons why a lot of those pushes end up failing. They start off like so good, and then they end up going so bad. And the two things that I think hurt are, this was before I started saving articles. I read a really good article, or somebody emailed me a really good article about how one of the most important things that you can do to solidify a political win is to have grace and humility in victory. That when you've gotten a win, it's so important to be like, okay, we won. You guys might be disappointed, but we're just going to chill, okay? Because we have our win and we're going to rest on it. But that when you start gloating and when you start lording this over people, you foster so much resentment and hate that it will always come back to bite you in the ass. That's the first one. So one is the incredible level of like snark that people have when it comes to some of these issues. Because I think that there is a way, and this is what I hate. I think there are some topics that are so unbelievably pure and good that it would take a sociopath to fight back against it. Okay, a girl saying something like, "I just think it would be so cool if we just had like a few more women superheroes. I would love that. That would be so cool. I want somebody else like flying around and doing this, blah 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 blah." The only people who are gonna fight against that are people that have like paleo, conservative, like all natural meat diet, masculine, blah blah. Like nobody's really good. Yeah, fine, that's fine. Nobody like. Yeah, you can do that. You can have that. So one is that like it has this aura of superiority has to dissipate, and it has to come from like this would just be cool because a lot of people want this. Okay, that's the first thing. Also, historically, well, no, I'll do the second point and then historically. Okay, the second point is it has to come from within and be respectful to the medium itself. And I think this was a huge problem with a lot of Gamergate stuff, was for like Gamergate, the chief feminist for this appeared to be Anita Sarkeesian. And you can remember the big attacks against her. And I remember, because I was one of the big attackers against her, because I hated her back then. I probably still would hate her, but I definitely hated her back then. And I remember going through her whole PhD dissertation, like, oh, she doesn't play fucking video games. I don't even think she does any of this shit. Oh, she stole video footage when she was doing her feminist critique. She didn't play any of the. I remember saying all these things, but my feeling at the time was, right, and I remember my feelings. My feeling is, she doesn't even like video games. Why the fuck are you coming into my domain and telling me what to do and criticizing my shit? You're not even part of this. But if it does come more endemically, I think that there's a different feeling, because the criticism feels more genuine and respectful to the medium. And then wrapping this all up, like historically, I think you have seen unbelievably positive representations of, I'll say, especially women in mediums, where nobody is questioning the intent. You will not find a single person, and if you did, everybody around would rightly beat the shit out of him, saying like, oh, I didn't like Ripley and Alien and Aliens. Like, I don't think she was appropriate. That was people would beat the shit out of him. I didn't like Kill Bill because it was too many women fighing. No, they had swords, they were each other. It was fucking awesome. Nobody's, or like, I didn't like Black Panther. Africa, really? Come on. No, it was a good movie. It grossed over $1 billion, right? When you're respectful to the medium and when you don't come at it with this huge level of snark, I think that you can like grow and push for a lot of these, a lot of these kinds of like, I hate saying diversification because it's a bad word, but like you can, and I think it's like a good way to do that. A final thing I'll say, sorry, all these things. I don't know if I ever talked about this stream. Blizzard had a tool. I don't know if you heard about this tool, but they had like a diversity tool where after you put, this was an example for when this came out, and I even admit, when I saw it come out and I saw the house, I was like, God, this is so fucking cringe. You have a diversity checker tool to make sure that you're hitting all your boxes. But then I saw like there was a post of an artist who they gave like it wasn't even a hugely thought out thing, but they're like, you know, I think it's really cool sometimes that like if you do a whole story, you storyboard out, you write all these things, and then you look and you're like, oh, I noticed I don't have a single, you know, woman, or I don't have a single black person, or there's not a single, not even LGBT, there's nobody here. It might be nice to just like flesh that out in like one character. Like, oh, I can very easily add this. It's not a detriment to the story, and like it makes my stuff a little bit more inclusive and expansive. There was nothing wrong with that tool. It was totally fine. But I had already been so poisoned just reading headlines because like, oh God, a diversity tool, that I already hate it. Even though I'm like, oh, you know, actually in retrospect, yeah, there probably is a decent tool. Yeah, to check to make sure your shit is like fine. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.